In the dust-choked heart of Depression-era America, where desperation bred shadows and the wail of sirens pierced the night, one man's eerie grin haunted the nation's nightmares: Alvin "Creepy" Karpis. Leader of a ruthless gang that kidnapped tycoons for fortunes and left trails of blood across the Midwest, he outsmarted the law longer than any other public enemy, his cold eyes betraying a mind as sharp as a switchblade. Imagine the FBI's frantic hunt, the high-stakes arrests, and a life sentence in the inescapable fog of Alcatraz. Who was this Lithuanian immigrant turned criminal mastermind, whose crimes fueled legends and whose end came far from the cells that defined him? Uncover the chilling saga of a man who danced with death, only to fade into exile and mystery. The origins of Alvin "Creepy" Karpis trace back to the bustling immigrant neighborhoods of Montreal, Quebec, a city alive with the clamor of factories and the scent of fresh-baked bread from ethnic bakeries. Born Alvin Francis Karpavicius on August 10, 1907, to Lithuanian parents Jonas and Ona Karpavicius, young Alvin entered a world shaped by old country traditions amid the new world's harsh realities. His father, a laborer who toiled in menial jobs, dreamed of prosperity in Canada, but found only struggle, while his mother, a homemaker with a stern hand, instilled a sense of resilience drawn from her own uprooted life. The family, seeking better fortunes, relocated to Topeka, Kansas when Alvin was just 2 years old, settling in a modest wooden home on the city's working-class outskirts, where the flat prairies stretched endlessly under vast skies, and the whistle of passing trains promised escape to distant horizons. Topeka in the 1910s was a microcosm of America's heartland, railroad hubs buzzing with commerce, saloons echoing with laughter and brawls, and a growing divide between the respectable and the rough. The Karpavicius family, anglicizing their name to Karpis for assimilation, lived frugally. Jonas worked odd jobs as a janitor and handyman, while Ona managed the household with 4 children, including Alvin's siblings who faded into obscurity compared to his notorious path. Home life was marked by discipline and scarcity, with Lithuanian folk tales told around the dinner table clashing against the American dream peddled in newspapers. Alvin, the second child, absorbed this tension early, his wide, unblinking eyes earning him the childhood nickname Creepy from peers who found his perpetual half-smile unsettling, as if he harbored secrets beyond his years. From a young age, Alvin displayed a sharp intellect that set him apart, coupled with an antisocial streak that isolated him. He attended local public schools in Topeka, where brick buildings housed rows of desks, and the smell of chalk dust mingled with coal heat. An average student academically, he excelled in subjects requiring logic and memory, like arithmetic and geography, often memorizing maps of far-off places as if plotting future wanderings. Teachers noted his photographic recall, but lamented his disinterest in group activities, preferring solitary reading of adventure novels borrowed from the public library, tales of outlaws and explorers that fueled fantasies of life beyond Kansas's confines. Friends were scarce. He gravitated toward older boys on the fringes, street urchins who loitered near the rail yards, sharing cigarettes and stories of quick schemes. These companions, often from broken homes like his, introduced him to petty mischief, swiping candy from corner stores or hopping freight trains for short thrills, behaviors that mirrored the era's bootlegging undercurrents as prohibition loomed. Alvin's personality emerged as a blend of charm and detachment, affable when it suited him, with a disarming grin that masked inner turmoil, but quick to withdraw into brooding silence. Early influences loomed large. The family's immigrant struggles embedded a sense of otherness, while Topeka's rough edges exposed him to vice. At age 10, around 1917, he dipped into crime, running errands for local gamblers and pimps in exchange for pocket money, drawn by the allure of independence amid his parents' constant financial woes. Dreams flickered in his youth.
He spoke of becoming a mechanic or engineer, fascinated by the locomotives thundering through town, tinkering with broken bicycle parts in the backyard under the summer sun. But struggles mounted. Jonas's inconsistent work led to evictions, forcing moves to shabbier lodgings, and Ona's health faltered under the strain, leaving Alvin to care for younger siblings. This instability bred resentment toward authority, viewing rules as chains imposed by the fortunate.
As adolescence deepened, Alvin's mindset shifted from dreamer to survivor. By 16 in 1923, he had quit school entirely, taking menial jobs as a delivery boy or farmhand on the outskirts, where endless wheat fields whispered of isolation. The roaring 20s jazz and speakeasies called to him, but poverty barred entry, pushing him toward darker paths. A pivotal moment came at 19 in 1926 when he was arrested for attempted burglary, breaking into a hardware store for tools to sell, his first major brush with the law. Sentenced to 10 years at the State Industrial Reformatory in Hutchinson, Kansas, this institutionalization hardened him further. There, amid barbed wire and regimented days, he met like-minded youths who glamorized crime as rebellion. He escaped once with inmate Lawrence Duvall, embarking on a brief spree of thefts, only to be recaptured and transferred to the harsher Kansas State Penitentiary in Lansing. These years painted Alvin as a product of neglect and necessity, intelligent yet undirected, his Lithuanian roots clashing with American assimilation, fostering a worldview where survival trumped morality. Friends from reformatory days recalled his strategic mind, always one step ahead in card games or debates, but with an undercurrent of menace in his smile. Influences ranged from pulp novels glorifying bandits to the era's economic despair, where honest work seemed futile. As the 1920s waned, Alvin's dreams of legitimate success dissolved, replaced by a pragmatic ethos that the clever thrived outside the law. Little did he know, the struggles that forged his resilient, cunning spirit would propel him into the heart of one of America's most infamous gangs, transforming a Topeka boy into a national terror. As the iron gates of Lansing Penitentiary clanged shut behind him in 1931, Alvin Karpis emerged not reformed but refined, his reformatory years having sharpened his intellect and introduced him to Fred Barker, a fellow inmate whose family would become the nucleus of his criminal empire. Fresh from parole, Karpis reunited with Barker in Tulsa, Oklahoma, an oil-rich town buzzing with speakeasies and opportunity amid the Great Depression's grip. Their alliance began modestly, small-time burglaries and car thefts to fund a life on the run, but Karpis's photographic memory and strategic acumen quickly elevated him to co-leader, earning the gang's respect. Dubbed the Barker-Karpis Gang, it blended the Barker brothers' brute force with Karpis's calculated precision, a toxic mix that would terrorize the Midwest. The gang's crimes ignited with a vengeance in late 1931 when they murdered Sheriff C. Roy Kelly in West Plains, Missouri during a botched store robbery investigation. The sheriff's death, a point-blank shot in cold blood, marked their shift from theft to lethal violence, forcing them to flee to St. Paul, Minnesota, a haven for outlaws under the corrupt protection of local police. There, with Ma Barker and her paramour Arthur Dunlop, they established a safe house, Karpis orchestrating operations from hidden apartments. His reputation grew as the brains of the outfit, super smart with an eerie calm that unnerved even allies. Robberies followed in rapid succession, banks in Minneapolis and surrounding towns where they stormed vaults with Tommy guns, netting thousands in cash while evading pursuits through back roads memorized from maps. A turning point came in 1933 amid the era's kidnapping wave when the gang targeted wealthy brewer William Hamm in St. Paul. On June 15th, they abducted him outside his office, blindfolding him and driving to a Wisconsin hideout. Demanding $100,000 ransom delivered through coded ads and a tense exchange, they released Hamm unharmed after 4 days, the haul funding lavish hideaways and bribes. This success emboldened them,
but it also drew FBI scrutiny, especially after the Kansas City massacre that summer, though unconnected. Karpis's role was pivotal. He planned logistics, disguises, and escape routes, his Lithuanian features hidden behind aliases like Old Creepy. The gang expanded to 25 members, including Harry Campbell and Doc Barker, committing murders to silence witnesses. Dunlop himself executed in 1932 for suspected betrayal, his body dumped in a lake. Infamy peaked with the 1934 kidnapping of banker Edward Bremer, another St. Paul millionaire, snatched on January 17th amid snowy streets. Held in an Illinois hideout, Bremer endured weeks of captivity, the gang extracting $200,000 from his family, the era's largest ransom. Released on February 7th, his detailed recollections aided investigators, but Karpis's cunning kept them ahead, laundering money through underground networks. Major events piled on: a daring mail train robbery in Garrettsville, Ohio in November 1935, yielding $34,000 in bonds, evoking Wild West heists with modern firepower. By then, after Ma and Fred Barker's fatal shootout with the FBI in Florida on January 16, 1935, Karpis assumed full command, fleeing to Atlantic City with Campbell. There, a raid wounded his pregnant girlfriend, Dolores Delaney, who was captured. Karpis escaped, his resolve hardening into legend. As public enemies fell, John Dillinger gunned down in 1934, Pretty Boy Floyd and Babyface Nelson soon after. Karpis became the last standing, dubbed Public Enemy Number 1 in 1935. His crimes, uncovered like faded FBI dossiers stained with coffee and urgency, revealed a man whose initial petty thefts evolved into orchestrated terror. Over 15 bank robberies, 14 murders, and millions in loot. Turning points abounded. The Barker deaths splintered the gang, forcing Karpis into nomadic desperation, his reputation swelling as newspapers sensationalized Creepy as the era's enduring phantom. Yet betrayal loomed. Tips from informants tightened the net, leading to his dramatic downfall in a sun-drenched southern city, exposing the fragility beneath his calculated facade.
The noose around Alvin Creepy Karpis tightened in the humid streets of New Orleans, where the FBI, fueled by J. Edgar Hoover's personal vendetta, tracked him to a hideout in May 1936. Living under aliases with girlfriend Grace Goldstein, Karpis had evaded capture for months, but a tip from a betrayed associate led agents to his Plymouth coupe on Jefferson Davis Parkway. On May 1st, Hoover himself orchestrated the ambush, surrounding the car with G-men armed to the teeth. Karpis surrendered without resistance, his hands raised as agents tied him with a necktie for lack of handcuffs, a theatrical touch Hoover milked for publicity. Flown to St. Paul for trial, Karpis faced charges for the Hamm and Bremer kidnappings under the Lindbergh Law, pleading guilty to avoid the death penalty and receiving a life sentence on August 6, 1936. Transported by train under heavy guard, Karpis arrived at Alcatraz Federal Penitentiary on August 7, 1936, the fog-shrouded island rising like a concrete tomb from San Francisco Bay. Inmate number 325, he was stripped, searched, and assigned to a stark 5-by-9-foot cell in B Block, its steel bunk and barred window overlooking crashing waves that mocked any hope of flight. Daily life was a relentless regimen: 6:30 a.m. wake-up to blaring horns, silent marches to the mess hall for watery coffee and oatmeal under rifle sights from catwalks, then labor in the bakery, where the yeasty air mingled with the damp chill seeping through walls. Guards, stern in their uniforms, enforced silence with batons, their footsteps echoing in the dim corridors lit by flickering bulbs, the constant moan of foghorns amplifying the isolation.
Inside, Karpis behaved as a far from model prisoner, quiet and calculating at first, but prone to fights that landed him in solitary, the whole a pitch-black pit of despair. Manipulative by nature, he navigated alliances carefully, avoiding the violent cliques while using his intellect to barter favors, like smuggling news clippings. No escape attempts marked his record. Alcatraz's shark-infested waters and sniper towers deterred even his cunning mind, though he later claimed the island's myths overstated its impregnability. Interactions with famous inmates added layers. He shared yard time with Al Capone, from whom he learned guitar chords during brief whispers, finding solace in strumming melodies amid the clang of doors. With Machine Gun Kelly and Robert Stroud, conversations turned to legal loopholes, their shared resentment toward Hoover forging loose bonds in the exercise yard, where cold winds whipped faces under overcast skies. The atmosphere was suffocating, cells reeking of bleach and regret, guards patrolling with unyielding vigilance, the distant city lights a cruel tease during blackouts. Karpis adapted by reading voraciously, law books, history tomes, honing arguments for appeals that dragged on fruitlessly. A brief 1958 transfer to Leavenworth offered respite, but he returned to Alcatraz's grip until its 1962 closure. Shipped to McNeil Island Penitentiary in Washington, a forested isle with softer routines, he continued his sentence amid communal wards and workshop duties. Here, his demeanor mellowed. Quieter, less combative, he mentored younger inmates, notably teaching guitar to a wide-eyed Charles Manson in the late 1960s. Manson, eager and talented, absorbed lessons eagerly, their sessions in the rec room revealing Karpis's unexpected patience, though he distanced himself when Manson's ambitions turned grandiose.
As years blurred into decades, Karpis's health waned amid the monotonous grind. Damp cells aggravating arthritis, institutional food sapping vitality. Yet his mind remained sharp, penning memoirs smuggled out. This prolonged confinement, from Alcatraz's iron fortress to McNeil's relative leniency, edged toward an improbable release, a testament to endurance in a system designed to break spirits. After 33 years behind bars, Alvin Creepy Karpis's saga shifted toward unexpected freedom when paroled on April 4, 1969 from McNeil Island, his exemplary latter conduct and failed appeals finally swaying the board. Deported to Canada due to his immigrant status, his fingerprints erased by a botched surgery in 1934 complicating paperwork, he settled in Montreal, a return to his birthplace amid the city's vibrant French-Canadian streets. Karpis's final days unfolded far from America's shadows. In 1973, seeking warmer climes, he relocated to Torremolinos, Spain, a sun-drenched coastal town where expatriates mingled with tourists. Living quietly on a modest pension, he indulged in writing and reflection, co-authoring memoirs that peeled back gangster myths. On August 26, 1979, at age 72, he was found dead in his apartment, pills scattered nearby. Initially ruled suicide, the verdict shifted to accidental overdose from sleeping pills mixed with alcohol, influenced by girlfriend Nancy's habits. No autopsy confirmed. His body buried swiftly in Malaga's San Miguel Cemetery, a simple grave marking the end. Public reaction was muted, the 1970s headlines dominated by modern crimes. Obituaries revisited his notoriety, some romanticizing him as the era's last outlaw, others decrying his violence. Family, scattered siblings and his adopted son from Dolores, offered no public grief, his life of aliases severing ties. History remembers Karpis as a complex legend, not a mindless monster like some contemporaries, but a misunderstood intellect whose cunning prolonged the Public Enemy era. As the only #1 captured alive, he symbolized the FBI's triumph, yet his memoirs, The Alvin Karpis Story, 1971, and On the Rock, 1980, debunked fabrications like Ma Barker's supposed mastermind role, exposing Hoover's propaganda.
Psychological depth reveals a man scarred by poverty, his creepy facade masking a photographic mind that planned heists with precision, challenging views on nurture versus nature in crime.
His legacy endures in true crime lore. The Barker-Karpis Gang's kidnappings intensified federal laws, empowering the FBI, while his Alcatraz tenure, the longest, inspired films and books portraying him as a resilient anti-hero. Teaching Manson guitar unwittingly linked him to later horrors, a dark footnote. Today, he's a cautionary figure of depression desperation, his story warning of ambition unchecked in turbulent times. In the quiet siesta of a Spanish afternoon, the man who outlasted empires reminds us that even the creepiest shadows eventually dissolve into light. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel for more stories from the dark past of America's most notorious criminals.